Hello, everybody. My name's Jim, and I did something kind of careless. I started reading Horrorstör on May 30th, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a good book to start and really get into, you know, so I can get into the next month and finish it off. I didn't realize, however, that I would finish it off in two sittings. So, May 30th and May 31st, I read through Horrorstör. This was after I recorded the wrap up, obviously. It did not make the cut. So I have to do a standalone review for it. This will be spoiler free. On one hand, I'm kind of impressed, but on the other hand, I'm kicking myself for getting myself into this situation. It's fine though. I mean, this is a book review channel, so it doesn't really matter, but it's like, darn, I should have just gone slower and waited until next month to actually finish it. Just leave the last 10 pages for June. But no, I did it, and here we are. It is not going to show up in the June wrap up, so it has to be a standalone review just to get it out of limbo. Now, I did find this premise very interesting. There has been some overnight vandalism going on in this IKEA ripoff store called Orsk, and the floor manager, Basil, has asked our protagonist, Amy, and one of her coworkers, Ruth Ann, to stay overnight to either catch the vandals or watch the store in the meantime so that, nobody can get in and completely wreck the place. The IKEA, the labyrinth thing, is that how you say that word? Whatever. We're going to say that that's how you say that word. The labyrinth that is faux IKEA was a cool idea. There were so many references to it being a home, and so to have an IKEA knockoff be a haunted house was a neat idea. This is a horror comedy which is supplemented by these advertisements for Orsk. I went off to the side and I tried to make some hidden meaning out of these furniture names, like some hidden sentence or phrase that summed up the story in some meaningful way, but really you just throw them in Google Translate and they translate to asshole. So it's not even something that deep, but it's something that I thought was deeper than it was. It definitely goes along with the whole IKEA ripoff situation that they have going on. But if you have the book, it actually comes with diagrams and information about the different furniture as well. So that's a little visual treat if you actually have the book. If you listen to the audiobook, obviously that's not there. But one thing that I appreciated about the advertisements was that they started off, I mean, they were cute and they were funny, but this was supposed to be a horror comedy anyway. So the main story in the beginning was pretty funny too. But towards the end, when the story started getting serious, the advertisements at the beginning of each chapter brought back that dark humor that we were missing. I felt like I was coming into one kind of story, and then later on it turned into something else. I had to adjust my expectations moving into the later chapters. The retail commentary, there were these very general retail fears about not wanting to work at that location, wanting to transfer, not liking your superiors, having to work overtime, wanting to know how much you're going to be paid for that overtime, which luckily Amy and Ruth Ann were promised double overtime for taking the overnight job that they otherwise wouldn't have had. So at the end of the day, Basil was an okay manager. He was pretty overbearing and a bit of a micromanager. Amy, the protagonist, always switched her personality whenever his back was turned, which I thought was funny in the beginning because it just seems so typical and so realistic. Amy in general was a bit of an unlikable protagonist, especially in the beginning. She did have character growth throughout the story where she started to appreciate the people around her. In the beginning, it made it pretty clear that Amy was a quitter. She didn't really care too much. She was a bit lazy. She had nothing really nice to say about any of her coworkers. However, I will say that I was never really fully attached to her, and I certainly wasn't attached to the other characters except for Ruth Ann, just because she was this sweet, older lady who was single and watched Real Housewives of whatever with her stuffed Snoopy toy. So I thought that was a quirky little personality trait, and I don't know, she just seemed really nice. But the other ones weren't really, and wasn't really that they were unlikable, it was just that they were forgettable. I wish that there was a little bit more involved with some of the side characters, especially the ones that caused the plot to happen in the first place. There was one character that I thought was a throwaway, and Matt, like, who is he? I don't even know why I remember his name. I am a character reader, and if I'm not attached to the character, then the book is going to hurt. So yeah, I wasn't really attached to anybody, and that was a disappointment. Where the violence and the gore is concerned, when, you know, everything started going crazy, I think that Grady Hendrix towed the line. Like, he wanted to go really deep in there and create something squirm worthy, but I never really felt that feeling. And it could be that I just read Going Under by Sonia Henry, and I just read Whatever Remains of Us in the End by Brandon Baker, and those are squirmy. Those are squirmy books. I didn't get that in this. I feel like he was going for that. I feel like there was one scene that was almost there. In fact, it was the climactic scene sort of in the middle of the book that did that for me, but it just felt like it was teetering on that line. It felt like it wanted to cross it, but it never actually did. So all in all, this was a 3-star book, but it wasn't a 3-star in the sense that I hated it. It's not a 3-star rating with a downward trajectory. It's one, like with most of my other 3 stars, where I just wanted something more. And this isn't going to prevent me from getting other Grady Hendrix books. He is an author from South Carolina, which I appreciate, and I'm always looking for South Carolina authors to support on this channel. And looking into his other books, there are some that really strike my interest, and I do look forward to picking those up and seeing if any of those things that I missed in this story are present in any of his other ones. And if you have any suggestions for Grady Hendrix books of things that I might like, some of the things that may have been missing in Horrorstör, drop it in the comments below. I would really appreciate it, so that I can go into another one of his books with a bit more optimism, I guess, instead of these neutral expectations where I'm just thinking that I'm going to get the same thing that I got before. But if you liked this review and you want to give Horrorstör a go, honestly, I would recommend this. I think that it's just a me thing. It's just personal taste that caused me to drop it a couple of stars. If this is interesting to you, go to the Goodreads link in the description, click on the retailer of your choice and purchase this book if you want to, or you can go to Libby. Hoopla, which I just found out was a thing. Thank you to Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews. I did not know that it existed. And obviously you can borrow it from your library if it's available. Otherwise, I have been Jim. You've been great. Happy reading.